And welcome, race fans, to Auto Club Speedway in Fontana, California. Of course, it's the virtual Auto Club Speedway. Not threatened by new homes being built in the backyard. Forever living here on iRacing. And we're so grateful to have you with us here as we get set for Season 16's round number 2 of the International IndyCar League right here on VirtualRacing.Network. So great to have you with us here today. I'm Trevor Greenfield. I'll be calling all the action on the track as I have been for several seasons. And we are set for a great one today. As I mentioned, it's just the second race of a brand new season, Season 16. And we are looking forward to some high-flying action around this track. For those of you very familiar with Auto Club Speedway, this is one of those tracks that is known for its speed, is known for that 230 miles per hour into turn 1, turn 3. So we are looking forward to some great drafting action amongst these drivers. In the meantime, they must qualify, though. So we're going to head down track side, pick up the action as the drivers make their way around and get set for today's race. So here on screen, you can see Danny Alt now getting ready to take his first flying lap. And he'll be our first qualifier today. Actually, Mike West getting in that very first time. Now Jason Lowe getting in a time as well. Switch over and check that out. Jason Lowe out there. Last week I mentioned that he was driving the Pink Pig. Well, of course it isn't. I couldn't quite figure out who it was, but that's Kirby from the video game series, which you may recognize. It looked familiar, but there you go. He loves the name Pink Pig. So I'll keep calling it that, but for those of you who are video game fans, now you know. The 004, either way, doing well and starting off the Season 16 to some great points. We'll get to the points battle here in a minute, but so far, we can get some actual times on the screen. Be able to give you an update, but I'm showing Jason Lowe so far fastest, and there we're starting to see some of our times come trickling in. Apologize if there's any difficulty getting that information out to you, as we just rent our software, we don't build it. You can see it does sort of what it wants to do. So there we go. You can see Jason Lowe sitting on pole position, Ryan Bowles in second, Richard Kelbaugh in third. I'm sorry, Richard Kelbaugh back there in fifth, Mike West in third, Rick Lovison, great qualifying position, starting fourth place. Dominic Harte now finishing up his qualifying. This will be his second lap, thus far fifth fastest, and there you can see poking his name to the top of the list is none other than the four-time consecutive champion Graham Bunyan, but he is not currently the points leader. We'll get to that in just a moment. But Hart finishing up his second lap, not faster on that second lap, and so we now get a chance to switch over to David Strid, who's about to take his first flying lap around this over 2-mile facility here at California Speedway. Auto Club Speedway, of course, as it's officially known today, but started out in the mid-90s. It's California Speedway, and who can forget the infamous Gilles de Ferran in that, I believe it was 1998, setting the closed course world speed record, a 240-plus mile per hour lap around here. It was something special back in the 90s, and gosh, it would still be special to see a car go 240 miles an hour, one of these Indy cars. But there you go. David Strid eclipses his unofficial teammate, Graham Bunyan. It's going to be starting on pole position for today. It's 3/1000ths of a second separating them, and you can see that all the way back to Danny Alt in 13th is less than 0.2 of 1 second separating these drivers. So as this qualifying session finishes up, we've got several drivers who popped into the field here at the end, and they haven't taken a time. Julian Altena, Iñigo Mardones, Mauro Ramirez, and David Worrell, none of them taking a time. And that may be strategic, as you get a chance to start from the pits. And after all, I believe Julian Altena did start from the pits last week. And so why mess with a good thing, right? He did end up, of course, coming back and winning, and we'll get to that just one moment time as soon as we get through these qualifying results. There you go. It is, in fact, David Strid who takes pole position, and he will add to that points haul that he has currently in the league. And so it's a great time to go ahead and talk about those points. We can get that up there on the screen. And there we are. So as we are one official race in on season 16, you can see the points on the screen. It was Julian Altena who stole the show, the young Dutchman, coming out of nowhere, sort of starting in the pits last week and finding his way all the way to first place, taking victory decidedly. And that was quite a surprise, I think, to many in the field to see Julian doing so well in his debut for season 16. And I say in his debut, of course, he's had some races here. In fact, he even won controversially, I guess. I'm not sure, but he did win a race here in the International IndyCar League in season 15. So maybe not a surprise at all, but you can also see how the bonus points are playing out. They're already starting to be a factor in the way that some of these cars are separated out there. Cars now out there on the track, gridding up at the moment, and we will soon get a chance to see them rolling and on their way to that green flag, which I know we're all kind of waiting for at the moment. So let's go ahead and take a look at how they will be starting for today's California 190. That grid wants to show on the screen. There it is. David Strid starting on pole position. Alongside him will be unofficial teammate, fellow countryman Graham Bunyan, 4-time champ. They're going to be starting second. Jason Lowe on the second row. He's got a clear shot of the front from there. Ryan Bowles going to be starting alongside. He almost took Pocono last week. He took Pocono last season. He's a fast driver. Any race, you can't count him out. Third row will be Mike West and Rick Lovison. Great starting position for those two drivers. Starting on the fourth row, it's going to be Dominic Harte. Can never take your eyes off of Dominic, and Howard Livingston. Behind them, Richard Kelbaugh, Mr. Stickwick, and Dan Ensch, the fuel-saving master. Will Stearns and then DL Lemon going to be starting alongside of each other. And finally following them up, Danny Alt, having actually pretty good qualifying. Christopher Bryan, Mauro MJ Ramirez, Julian Altena, Iñigo Mardones, and David Worrell. And I'm seeing that Iñigo Mardones is actually shown now at the back, and Dominic Harte is stuck in the pits. So we'll have to keep an eye on that as well. But in the meantime, it is David Strid who will lead us down to the green flag to get today's California 190, the second round of the International IndyCar League, up and running. Here we go. Green flag in the air, though. You can't quite see it there, but there it is. David Strid gets us underway. 95 laps here in the California sunshine. And Strid really has a problem there exiting turn 2. You can see it's really jumbled up the field now. 4 wide already as Jason Lowe makes his march to the front. That's Jason Lowe for the Rescue Ranch, taking his pink pig out to the lead already. Now, this being one of those tracks where drafting makes it possible for any one of these drivers to be able to come back and pass, and you can see David Strid already recovering recovering from that momentary bobble there, able to retake that position. So we expect a lot of this today. There's not really much any of these drivers can do to escape this draft. So if you got somebody you're trying to put much further in your rear view mirror, it's very difficult to do. Here we see Graham Bunyan and Ryan Bowles battling for that third position off of turn 3, and this field has not broken apart at all. We've got Bowles and now Howard Livingston racing for that 4th spot. Bowles on the high side, that red and black machine. Graham Bunyan holding down 3rd position, and now Howard Livingston cuts in behind Bowles. Livingston in the silver red car there in the center of your screen, racing for Care Camp's organization. And we can see up in front, there goes Graham Bunyan and Jason Lowe. Now Graham Bunyan sizing up low here. So Bunyan sizing up low and can't quite do it. So we'll see whether or not any of these other drivers can manage to solidify this one. Apologize for any of the audio issues. Continuing to try to sort that out on my side. But you can see nothing has changed at the front of this one. It's still David Strid, Jason Lowe, and now Mike West marching up into that 3rd position. We've got 2, 3, 4 wide here. It's almost impossible to call this one, so we'll just watch. And they head down into turn 3, and it's Mike West who emerges at the front. Howard Livingston now slotting into 2nd place, and David Strid falls all the way back to 3rd after just 1/2 of a lap. You can't keep track of how fast the positions are changing here. Howard Livingston now 3 wide, and Strid gets tapped from the inside. Strid now sideways. Stuck up in turn 4. He makes contact with, I believe, Danny Alt and possibly Iñigo Mardones. Caught in that one. Danny Alt back in the pits already. Dominic Harte possibly involved as well. We're going to take a look here. Step back. See if we can figure out exactly what happened on this one. And I have a feeling that we know what happened. There was a driver who came. I mean, everything kind of got jumbled up here. So let's see if we can get a look. And I believe that driver down low there is, in fact, DL Lemon, one of the newest drivers in the league. And he's holding down on that low line. He hasn't really come up into the groove, but I think Strid by that point was already committed to the low line. And it's just an example of too much speed and not enough room for all of those cars to fit in the same spot. So unfortunately, Strid ends up in the fence. And you can also see that looks like Danny Alt is going to be out of this race. I see the 00 car there as well of Christopher Bryan having that issue, but it doesn't look like he made too much contact. So we come back to the live picture, and we are seeing some pit stops already happening now. Here is Mike West bringing the field in from the lead. DL Lemon is actually going to take over that lead because he chose to stay out for this round of stops. Rick Lovison going to be closing up to the back there of DL Lemon. Flash over to see who can get out of their pit box the fastest. So, as we mentioned, this has been a bit of an interesting start to this race. We did have some great fuel numbers provided to us from earlier, so be able to relay that. It's basically 28 to 31 laps that we do expect these cars to go under a green flag stint. Now, that's easier said than done, as you can see, we're already under caution here. And in addition, there are some ways to save some incredible fuel when you're at this this speed. So, I mean, I've heard of some crazy things like running the fuel map in Fuel Map 8, which is basically only safe for cautions. But if you can do it, you can save a mad amount of fuel. So that might be one of the focuses of a driver like Dan Ensch or one of the other drivers who's well known for their fuel-saving techniques. One other aspect that might be possible for these drivers is simply sitting behind that car in front if you're up there in the lead, and then possibly taking that lead position so that you can manage your own tires. And so you've got a few different strategies that you can employ here. One of the strategies also, since you can't seem to really focus on keeping cars behind you and pulling away, there are some techniques that these drivers can use to be able to try to make a gap. And one of those things that we look to is potentially to see whether Graham Bunyan and David Strid, assuming that David can recover from this, which it does appear as though he will, and he will not fall down a lap. So good news to David Strid fans around the world. But if Graham Bunyan and David Strid and possibly others can work with them and be able to draft swap and maybe walk away off the front, it is possible. And also, depending on how restarts go, it is possible to get a very large run off of turn 4 and be able to pull out a very big gap. Now, can it be defended? That's another question. Can you do it for more than 1 or 2 laps and keep your gap? Maybe not, but I have been able to successfully do that. I pulled a huge lead one time here at Auto Club because there was a lap car that was stuck just behind me, and it held up second place just long enough that I was able to pull a pretty big gap and survive a couple of laps. So until the end and get that victory. So will we see some strategery popping up here? Well, stay tuned. Still a long ways to go as we get set, and DL Lemon, the rookie in the International IndyCar League, steps on that right foot pedal. Brings us back to the green flag. He throws it into turn 1. Rick Lovison is restarting in second place, and Dan Ensch in third. You know, I got to give a big call to Will Stearns, who's not at the front in this race yet, but he finished in third place last week. And Rick Lovison, I'm sorry, I had to cut into that one. Rick Lovison, the moment he had the draft, he seized the opportunity and moved Rick Lovison into that lead position. He'll get a bonus point. And as we were mentioning, those bonus points so crucial. Doesn't matter what place you are in the championship. As we look on, we see Dan Ensch and DL Lemon battling it out here for that second place. And I also have a note, Christopher Bryan now heading into the pits. I think he's had some damage, and there you can see it on your screen. The right front wing and that right side pod completely a miss on that car, so we'll back it up here in just a moment. We don't want to miss the action, though. Rick Lovison still in the lead, and he's racing with Dan Ensch. And so you might think, too, and we've got another car. I think it's Will Stearns who's in the wall. So that will bring out another yellow flag, and we've got Graham Bunyan tied into this one as well. I'm hoping these two did not make contact. But as you can see, they were racing very closely together. So we're going to get the best possible photo position for you here. Cameras are a little out of order. There we go. Let's see what happened. And it looks like Bunyan just kind of drove up. Now that could have been, we're going to back it up here and just see if we can tell. They're racing side by side. They clearly know each other is there. Graham Bunyan is on the inside. Will Stearns sticking to the outside. As they fly past start finish line, it does appear as though Stearns is still there. Bunyan does drift up the track, and I don't know. I mean, try to look at Stearns' line. And I don't think Stearns really moves. I'm just going to say that's probably netcode and or possibly Graham thinking that he was clear And so what a catastrophe for Graham Bunyan, your 4-time champion, defending champ out of Australia. And after such great inroads that he has made this week to get some more technical details worked out in his rig and get his new sim rig up and running, it's quite a shame for him to not be able to get a full race in, but also kind of a shame for Will Stearns there, who was caught up in that. And again, he was in 3rd place in the championship. And so this is exactly what we talk about when we say don't get caught up in these things, because, this is really where your seasons can kind of suffer, is when you have these little errant mistakes, like maybe you drift up on someone, or you just don't realize that somebody's getting very close to you on the inside, and you think, oh, I'll just hold my car where it's at. It's sometimes discretion, better part of valor. Sometimes it's just like, hey, this guy's got the position, I'm just going to let him have it. Or sometimes it's, I don't know if I am quite clear, even if my spotter tells me I am. Just hold it in there. Not that there's anything these drivers can do, and not that I would second guess the 4-time champ. Hey, I'm just setting up in a booth here, but it is one of those factors that either way you look at it, as we go back and take a look here at pit road, I mean, there's Graham Bunyan and there's Will Stearns on the sidelines. So, 17th and 18th place, not going to help that championship. And as a result, I mean, look at who's leading this race. Look at this top 5. Rick Lovison. Yes, Rick, racing for Berkshire Lakeside Lodge. He's got that beautiful car up there in the front. And Dan Ensch currently racing in 2nd place, racing for Last Lap Motorsports and Alzheimer's Awareness, Alzheimer's Association, the ALZ.org and ALZ machine. Of course, running in 3rd place, Ryan Bowles. Bowles had a great season. I mentioned it last week. He had a fantastic season going. You see a number of drivers now headed deeply down into the pits to get those fresh Firestone Firehawk tires mounted to the Dallara IR-18 IndyCars. And we are just really getting underway with this one. So much time remaining, so much opportunity for these drivers. And hope you're enjoying it out there. Let us know where you're watching from and how it looks to you. Appreciate everybody stopping by. And let us know what country, what city you're from. And if you got somebody you're rooting for out there. In the meantime, we have been having a dynamo of a race, a little difficult to call because of so much changes at the front. But right now, if you're Rick Lovison or Dan Ensch or possibly Ryan Bowles, you are licking your chops. Also, I would have to say Jason Lowe. I mean, he'd have to be thrilled. I mean, not that you ever want to see somebody taken out or involved in a wreck, but I mean, to not see your closest competitor in the championship up next to your car is a welcome sight. So Jason Lowe can see the front from here. He's been pretty aggressive on the starts. Will we see him try to get up into that lead? We'll find out. In the meantime, Rick Lovison leads us back to green here on lap number 16. There it is. Dan Ensch pokes his nose in front. Ryan Bowles not far behind. And Rick Lovison pulls up the track a little bit to let these two by. And there you see Dan Ensch about to take that bonus point for leading a lap. There it is. Now I assume Ryan Bowles is going to try the same thing. Why not get that done and out of the way? So there is a bonus point for leading a lap. There's a bonus point for leading the most laps. There's a bonus point available for pole position. So all of these are very valuable for these drivers because they certainly add up over the championship and absolutely could be the whole difference between one position and maybe, being able to take one or two full positions in that championship just through the bonus points. So got to get up there and get your name in the books. I'm not sure if Bowles did lead that lap, but I'm sure that is what he's going for. So we've got quite a split here. There is quite a split, and that split is all the way back to David Strid. Now 2.8 seconds back from these others. We've got DL Lemon racing him hard here from behind, and if I were Strid, I would watch out for that black car because he's already tagged you once. So DL Lemon now up into that 7th position, up 5 spots from where he started. Strid in 8th. We can see these drivers racing side by side down the backstretch and trapped in that draft. You see now Graham Bunyan moving up into that mix. Unfortunately for Graham, he has lost 2 laps at the moment, as has Will Stearns, as has Danny Alt, who has actually made it back into the race. And Christopher Bryan did lose a lap in his earlier incident as well. But back up at the front, it's Dan Ensch who's trying to do what he can to end Alzheimer's and raise Alzheimer's association and Alzheimer's awareness. And he's holding down to that white line. There he is, holding off Ryan Bowles, but Bowles giving it a good shot around the outside. Now we ride on board with Bowles. Bowles trying to take a look down the outside of Dan Ensch. Will he pull off that position? It's still not happening. These drivers race side by side for multiple laps, and now Bowles falls back in line, but as soon as he gets that draft again, he tries it on the high side. Now, one thing about this track is much like most of these higher speed tracks that the IndyCars will visit, running a higher line will do different things for your tires over the course of the stint than running that lower line. And sometimes these drivers, they love that low line. They'll hug that low line. Sometimes it works their tires a little bit too much, and so they'll move up to the high line. It just depends on what feels comfortable to you. So we watch these drivers continue to pour in the laps here in this California sunshine, and Dan Ensch leads us through the first 23 laps. Now it looks like Bowles might have enough on that outside line. He's got Rick Lovison in tow. I tell you what, Rick is having a great race right now, running in that 3rd spot. And if I'm Rick Lovison, I'm thinking today is my day. So we'll see whether or not Rick can continue to stay up with that lead group, but so far hanging on very well. Now we've got David Strid coming into the pits here, and so is Mauro Ramirez. So I'm not really sure. Not sure why they're in. I don't know if perhaps they just didn't stop last time, and so that will tell you that they need to take on that tires and fuel. But again, going back to our original numbers, I was seeing 28 to 31 laps from Dan Ensch, who gave us that information. So again, I'm just not really sure. I didn't see, there's no incidents reported between those two. So Strid having a difficult day here in California. As you see, Bowles has taken over that lead position. It happened while we were looking elsewhere, trying to figure out David Strid's position. So Bowles now in front. He's gotten that bonus point for leading a lap. And now Bowles is one of those drivers who has no problem with sitting out there in front. He's, if I have to say, he's one of the least prone to making mistakes in the field. And, from that standpoint, you might see Bulls hold on to this lead position. And the reason is because at these speeds, and we do talk about this regularly, but at these speeds, the air drag coefficient on these cars is so great that when you're in second position, third position, fourth position, the aero push coming off of the car in front, especially with these new, I say new, but the windscreens that were added, the aero screens that were added a few years ago, it creates such a huge pocket of air that pushes these cars up the track behind that essentially, if you can just be out in front, we've got a car, I think that's DL Lemon in the background, who came into the pits really fast. That is far too fast for pit entry speed, and now appears to have jumped into the pits. So I'm not quite sure what's happening there. Let's see if we can tell. Jump back. So this was DL Lemon. Moments earlier getting passed for this position by that is Worrell, David Worrell. So we're just watching here. He's going to pull it down and possibly into the pits, or does he get tapped by Worrell? Worrell very close there. We're watching. It looks like perhaps Worrell got into him and pushed him into the pits. So we'll let the admin team sort that one out and go back to the live picture. Now we also have a note that Rick Lovison is making his pit stop. So Lovison having to pay for staying out during that caution flag and pit under green. Unfortunate for him, and that is really going to hurt his chances to stay on that lead lap. But we'll watch this space because there's still a whole lot of action to happen here today. Once again, great to have you with us here on VirtualRacing.Network. We're over a quarter of the way through this one. This is the second round, the International IndyCar League. And so great to have you with us on a weekend where we've got both Formula One and IndyCar in real life racing. IndyCar finishing up their season today at Laguna Seca. Good luck to all of those competitors, and obviously we know the entire IndyCar paddock, and everyone is watching this race right now as this is the first IndyCar race of Sundays. So where else would you be if you were an IndyCar fan but watching the International IndyCar League battle it out on the high banks of Auto Club Speedway in virtual racing land? But yes, once again, it is great to be back here at Auto Club as these four now battling it out for position. And hey, big shout out to number 3 and 4 in line here. That's Howard Livingston in the Care Camps machine. We didn't get much of a chance to talk about him, but he is back in the cockpit. Auto Club Speedway, one of those kind of wide open tracks where you don't have to work that foot as much. For those of you that recall, last season he was out of the cockpit for most of the season because he broke his foot stepping on a coconut, and I guess that's the price you pay for living in paradise, is occasionally all those coconuts, you're going to step on one. But he's safely recovered. Still got some recuperation to do, but able to get back in, and so that's great news for him. And Mr. Stickwick, Richard Kelbaugh, is hanging on in 4th spot. So good news for him as well, because he's had a difficult time. You know, he's qualified well, Rick has, and he's held well in races, 5th, 6th, 7th. But usually what happens is, in these races, he will make unfortunate contact with another car, and it's usually not his fault. We got a couple of drivers now headed into the pits. Jason Lowe gets it slowed down, and just outside you see Ryan Bowles as well. So these two drivers now head down into the pits. They're on board with Bowles. That'll leave Howard Livingston out there in the front, and so this is now the easy way to get those bonus points. Just let everybody else come into the pits. But what you're seeing here, and by the way, you're seeing David Worrell there in third. He had already pitted, so that's why he's now shown up there in the lead, but he's actually a lap down. And so Rick Kelbaugh now heads into the pits, as does Iñigo Mardones, who's currently sitting on pit road in the Necky Racing number 17. Here you can see Howard Livingston out there in the Care Camps organization, Coconut Castaways, number 13, Dallara IR-18 IndyCar. So he's out there chasing Worrell, and this actually is really a big benefit. And this is where races, especially green flag races, can be made or lost. These are the in-laps and out-laps. This is what you're doing as a leader, as Howard Livingston is at the moment, to stay in that lead. And so the fact that he can hold a draft behind David Worrell is a huge help. Otherwise, he would lose time to any of these other drivers that can have a draft out there. And you see marching by in the front, that is actually a gaggle of cars, but in the middle of that is Dominic Harte in the red, white, and black car on the outside. The red, white, and black car on the inside, that's Will Stearns. The one on the outside, that's Dominic Harte. So Howard Livingston now makes his way into the pits, and that does turn over the lead to Harte. Second at the moment is Julian Altena, and they're now running nose to tail in this gaggle. That is a battle there between Ryan Bowles and Dan Ensch. That's actually for fourth position and for kind of control of virtual lead of this race, because they are the latest cars to have pitted in this gaggle. So watch those two cars just behind Jason Lowe. Ryan Bowles. So you see Dan Ensch there. This is I can tell this is confusing to hear me cover this, but Dan Ensch in the purple car there at the center of your screen is currently shown in fourth, and Ryan Bowles on the outside there. Dan kind of blinking out a little bit. Ryan Bowles there on the outside, and Jason Lowe just behind are currently shown fourth, fifth, and sixth on the track. They are just ahead of the leaders at the moment, who stopped much earlier, will need to make a pit stop, and there is Dominic Harte, in fact, pulling into the pits, and Mike West as well. So by the time I could finally officially describe what's happening, these drivers finally make their pit stops. And so what does that do? It leaves Julian Altena kind of out there by himself. Julian Altena, last week's winner of the very first race of the season, and therefore championship leader. He's kind of like buried in this gaggle here of front-running cars, but he is the leader, and he's going to try to survive and work his way through these cars, perhaps save a little bit of fuel in this pack while he's around them. And so as you can see, oh, there they are exiting the pits. Dominic Harte, Mike West, and Graham Bunyan. So let's get some more helpful information up there. The upper right-hand corner of the screen, there you can see. Wow, what a gaggle we have now. This is just incredible. All of these cars racing for different positions. At the very center of that, behind David Stritt, is Julian Altena. And you can see Altena doing everything he can to try to work the inside of Mauro Ramirez, his teammate, and just stay clear of these other drivers there. Dan Ensch pokes his nose ahead of David Stritt and stays ahead of Jason Lowe on the track. This is something else to watch, as now Julian Altena does manage to get down to pit road successfully. And a great pit entry. Looks like he had a fantastic entry there. So perhaps saving some time. We'll go over those pit stops here in a minute, but we'll see where he will rejoin now we start to get a picture of what the rest of this race might look like. Here's Ryan Bowles, who takes over that lead once again, with Dan Ensch just in tow, David Strid in third, Jason Lowe behind, and Rick Lovison in the virtual fifth place. So now Altena falling down through the order, and that kind of tells the story. He's going to have to work really hard. I think he's going to get Dominic Harte and Mike West passing him momentarily, and that'll be a little bit of a help, as he'll need to use their draft to try to catch up to the leaders. But having stopped on lap 44, that means that Julian Altena is in the best possible position of any of these drivers in terms of fuel and tires. So Ryan Bowles continues to lead here on lap 46. We're just about to reach halfway. You can see this one is far from over, as now you have DL Lemon creeping up into that mix. Lemon down 3 laps, so he is advised to not really race with these leaders. And we'll have to see if he will heed that warning. But DL Lemon up there now trying to get that lap back, and David Strid trying to follow in his tow, perhaps maybe get up into that lead position by just following behind DL Lemon. Trying to play the field, so to speak, there behind. So then you have the 66 car of Mauro MJ Ramirez, racing for Velocity Online Racing there. Doing a fantastic job of it. He started also from the pits, and so he'll be very proud if he can finish on the podium here today. He's had a podium finish here in the league last season, and I know that he's anxious to get back up there and be challenging for the top 3 positions in this championship. But so far, had a couple of cautions here today. It's made it difficult to find that type of rhythm that one of these drivers like MJ likes to count on to try to get up there at the end and get that win. But you got to take advantage of whatever you got, whatever kind of hand you got dealt, you know? So Mauro doing his best to hang on to position, and tell you what, he's having to fight here real hard. And that's Mauro and David Strid coming in together once again, as they had pitted at the same time last time. So that's not a bad call for MJ to split off and hang out on the David Strid strategy. Sometimes just follow the leader, you know what I'm saying? It's easier than trying to bake your brain all race long and figure out how to outsmart everyone else. Ryan Bowles leading here. You see DL Lemon on the outside. And then you've got Dan Ensch with Richard Kelbaugh just on the outside there. Sorry, just behind. So Kelbaugh now currently sitting in that 3rd spot. And this would be some phenomenal stuff if this race were to finish out this way, though yellow flags might dramatically change the race order. But if it were to finish out this way, there may not be a dry eye in the house, as a lot of people would love to see Richard Kelbaugh kind of get his due, get up there into 3rd spot, and see his name up there in the lights in the championship standings. He had so many top 5 finishes last season, and right around the top 5, that it was starting to look like top 5 in the championship was a very real possibility for Rick, but had a couple of difficult races at the end of last season and unfortunately drifted back. Dan Ensch also took victory last season, and that was pretty exciting as well, taking that victory at Chicagoland. But unfortunately, as the season went on, it just didn't quite seem to stay his lucky season. Some of the other drivers finding some luck where they had some technical problems, etc. earlier in the season, and unfortunately Dan's strategy calls, it just seemed like he tried to save fuel and it would be a non-fuel save race, as you see him now make his way into the pits, or vice versa. He wouldn't save fuel and it would turn into a fuel save race. So, you know, it's kind of a double-edged sword. Once you bite on one of these strategies, you got to stick with it. And just goes to show you how difficult it is to win one of these International IndyCar League races, to be honest with you. There's Ryan Bowles, though. He's doing everything he can to try to hang on to that position. I mean, could today be Ryan's day? For sure. We've talked about it. There's another driver in this field who has a win waiting in their future. I mean, I couldn't put a higher driver on the list than Ryan Bowles. He's shown that he can race up there in the top 3 consistently each and every time that we see him in the cockpit. And so, might today be his day? That is the question. And so now, take a look as Mr. Stickwick marches up into that 2nd spot. He's gained 7 positions today. He's sticking to the track pretty darn well. He's going to try to make it stick to the high side. Rick Kelbaugh in 3rd spot. I'm sorry, in 2nd spot, but 3rd on your screen. Utilizing the draft and utilizing all the opportunities to his advantage. There he goes and makes the pass on the high side on DL Lemon. Going through turn 3, so kind of running that high line, getting the run off the corner. So we're going to see maybe a pass here from Rick Kelbaugh. Or is he going to just try to hang in there? That is the question. So Altena is racing in 5th place. He was in the lead earlier. He started from the pits. You can see him racing there behind. I had the wrong shot because it's still getting used to telling these VOR cars apart. But Altena there on the inside, now passing David Strid. Strid a lap down, having to make that pit stop. And we've also got Rick Lovison now in and out of the pits, and DL Lemon making his way into the pits there. So the strategy not quite working out for DL Lemon to race at the front and get that lap back, as he has to make his green flag stop. So this race continuing, and now what you see on your screen is in fact the way that they are racing for position. Ryan Bowles, Richard Kelbaugh, Jason Lowe, Howard Livingston, and some way back there is Julian Altena in 5th position. That's your top 5. We got Mike West back here racing alongside, now on the inside of Dominic Harte. So these two racing for position. As you see, DL Lemon exiting the pits into this mix. West having a good run here today, and we look over as Ryan Bowles makes his way into the pits. Now, for the first time I've gotten a chance to call it in a long time, Richard Kelbaugh takes over the lead of the International IndyCar race here at California. I want to call it California Speed. Auto Club Speedway here, Fontana, California. So what are these drivers facing out there today? Well, they're facing a little bit of adversity, but not too much heat on the track. It's only 92 degrees Fahrenheit, so still pretty cool as far as this track could get. You know, it could be 130 degrees. In real life down there, oh my goodness, are the Southern Californians going through a heat wave. If our Indy cars were really there this weekend, this would be one of those weekends where I might not make it out to the track. Last time I was there was when the Indy cars were really there in, I guess it was 2014, 2015, and it was 100 degrees in the air, and that was something else. Rick Kelbaugh making his way into the pits. Can he get it down to pit lane speed? He does. So once again, just getting in and off pit road without making those speeding mistakes or, you know, going past your pit box. Let's see if let's just keep watching here with Rick Kelbaugh and see whether or not he can get it stopped in his pit box safely. again, I'm bringing this up because it seems like, you know, one of those things that isn't as important as all of the 100 laps of racing. But let me tell you, if you miss that pit box and you have to back up, that's an extra second or two. If you speed on pit road, that's a hold for like 20 seconds or 40 seconds, actually. I mean, these are things that will literally ruin your race. If you drift up the track and you get a, that you did not exit the pits safely, you have to bring the car into the pits. If you don't enter the pits safely, you have to bring the car into the pits. Here's Jason Lowe getting down to speed, and it looks like he just barely got that one stopped. So with this long entry to the pits, it does give you a bit more of time to slow down, but again, you're so tempted to just carry that speed through. And unfortunately, sometimes you're a little too fast entering pit road. Howard Livingston getting a bonus point out there in front, racing for the Care Camps Coconut Castaways out of Summerlin Key, Florida. Now, there's one driver out there who is more entertaining to follow on Facebook. I don't know who it is. Between Howard having a good time with his family, his kids, his wife, his dogs, in the Florida sunshine, enjoying those sunsets, enjoying a great life down there. And also, by the way, musician in Florida, playing frequently with his band and just having a great old time. And of course, out in the lead of this race. And how much better does it get on Sundays than in the lead of your league race? Julian Altena up into second. So these pit stop cycles starting to bring these other drivers on the alternate strategies around. Altena trying everything he can to stay in front of Strid there, but basically, as we see Howard Livingston heading into the pits, Altena is going to have to get a yellow flag at the right time in order for his strategy to work out. There we can also see Harte bringing it down into pit lane as well. Back at the front, it is Julian Altena who will take over the lead of this race here momentarily. David Strid in the 48 car on the outside, and Dan Ensch as well, are not on the same lap as Altena, but Altena also on a very different pit strategy. So, see if we can bring that up. There you go. Probably a little bit easier for you to tell. There you can see what laps each one of these drivers pitted on, and it's obvious that the two that are in the actual front right now, Altena and Strid, as well as you see Bunyan back there, those three drivers actually have not pitted recently, so they're going to need to come in. You take a look at Jason Lowe, the latest driver to stop. He's racing in the 5th position. And from that 5th spot, he's kind of sitting in a good position. He's the first driver to have made a recent pit stop, so we'll see whether Lowe can manage to be in the right place at the end of this one. Still quite a ways to go. We're working on lap number 69, soon to be lap number 70, as we see Julian Altena now making his way into the pits. Mike West right behind. Sorry, Danny Alt just behind, and then Mike West here in your picture getting down to pit speed limit. So that will allow Dan Ensch and David Strid, who are now racing for 3rd spot, they're soon to come around and pass Mike West and Julian Altena on pit road. You can see from the blimp cam. Maybe it's a better camera. There you can see exiting the pits. That's Danny Alt there. And Mike West, Graham Bunyan, also still in the pits, falling down through the field. So Ensch takes over the lead. Strid in 2nd place. Jason Lowe quite a ways back, 3.3 seconds back, but has 10 lap newer tires than Dan Ensch and 14 laps more fuel and tires than David Strid. So right now, you gotta say that Jason Lowe is kind of in that catbird seat, as he did just get passed, though, by Ryan Bowles. So Bowles coming in on lap 59. I think these three drivers just kind of running together, as you got Bowles, Lowe, and then Lovison running on the track. There's Lovison on the inside. And here Jason Lowe has decided to pull it down into the pit, so he will make that stop. That's kind of confusing, but I'm just going to say he's probably undercutting to make sure that he gets this final stop done and in the books. Meantime, Dan Ensch, David Strid out there. 24 laps remain. They will need to make their final pit stop, but they're currently running in first and second, and I think Strid, he'll make the call. There he gets it down to pit speed limit. Well under that 60-mile-an-hour limit, so definitely maybe he was a little over on entry and then trying to get it to average out, but this is going to drop Dan Ensch to kind of his own race here. He'll try to find perhaps the draft coming off the backside of, I believe that's Jason Lowe and Mike West up in front of him. So he'll try to find that draft, but they are quite a ways away, and he needs it in order to be able to have the speed to stay up with the leaders. Otherwise, David Strid, if he finds a drafting partner coming out of the pits, which as you can see, there he is in the draft, Strid will effectively take over the lead of this race due to the fact that he does have drafting partners, and he did get a good entry and exit off of pit road. So there you can see a couple of drivers coming in. Here comes Dan Ensch and MJ, Mauro Ramirez into the pits as well. So this is their final stops on the day. They'll be able to take a little bit less fuel. And of course the tires. Will that be the recipe for success? Find out here very shortly, as Ryan Bowles is up into that lead spot. Now, he last stopped on lap 59. He'll need to come in. There on the outside, you see Iñigo Mardones. He is currently, I think, 2 laps down, so not racing for position. And there you can see Dan Ensch creeping back into that shot. He has fallen down a lap to Ryan Bowles, but as soon as Bowles pits, Ensch will be back on that lead lap, so we're just waiting for that to happen at the moment. And there Bowles makes his way down into the pits for the final time today. Bowles going to take that final stop here and take on new tires and fuel. Back up at the front, though. Here's another driver that's still needing to stop, but he managed to save a bunch of fuel, so that's why he's out there. It's Rick Lovison, who's currently shown in front. Yes, the 2 drivers in front of him, David Strid, D.L. Lemon, racing far too close together once again for comfort, but they are, in fact, down a lap to the leader, Rick Lovison, at the moment. So your current running order is Rick Lovison, Howard Livingston, Richard Kelbaugh, Julian Altena, and Dominic Harte is that top 5. So this race going on as Strid and DL Lemon continue to fight it out. Strid's actually... So let's tell you what's happening here. Strid is actually at the tail end of the lead lap by the nature of the fact that he's gotten around Rick Lovison there. In front of him is DL Lemon, who is more laps down than David Strid is. So neither one of these three drivers are actually racing each other for position on the track. They're all on different laps. But I'll tell you who is racing for position as Strid goes to the high line there. And that is, you've got Rick Lovison, and then with 11 laps newer fuel and tires behind, this is Howard Livingston. Now, he will need to make another stop before the end of this one, and so will Rick Kelbaugh, who's behind him as well. They both stopped Livingston on 66 and Kelbaugh on 61. So you see these other drivers with the fresh tires, like Jason Lowe, able to squeeze on by, trying to get his lap back as well. Julian Altena was in the lead not long ago. Will we see him back in the lead again very soon? It's possible. He's currently racing in 4th spot. And here's Dominic Harte, who is, he's actually, that is not Altena in front of him. That's Mauro Ramirez in the 66. And so now we have Rick Lovison making his way into the pits. Iñigo Mardones making that final pit stop on the day. So as things finally start to settle down and shake out from this last round of pit stops, we're going to get a chance to finally see the last picture that we need so that we know who's in this fight for the end. Again, a caution could come out. It could regroup the whole field. Anything can happen, so we're waiting to find out. But at the moment, it is Howard Livingston who's in this mix, who is still in this lead. And he's just trying to hang out while these other drivers are basically fighting for a virtual lead of the race. That is Strid and Dan Ensch, Jason Lowe, DL Lemon in that mix, but he's not actually there for to be part of this potential victory. Here's Julian Altena. He stopped on lap 69, so he would have to go 31 laps to make it to the end. And I just tell you, it's going to be a difficult one. That would be really stretching that fuel tank. Dan Ensch did say it is possible to go 31 laps, but I'm thinking he's going to need to be running in like fuel map 5 or something like that in order to be able to do it. Maybe fuel map 8, lifting and coasting. I don't know. We'll see whether he can stretch that tank. But take a look who's taken over the lead of the race. It's Richard Kelbaugh racing for TeamStickQuick.com. By the way, if you've been living under a rock, StickQuick, one of the coolest devices in the world that you may not have heard about, but you need it in your life. Check out StickQuick.com right now after this race and buy yourself a whole set of those things, because they will literally change the organization that you need in your life. You can tell how much I want to do those live reads. I've been doing them for years now. But Team StickQuick out there in front. That is awesome news for all of the Rick Kelbaugh fans. Howard Livingston also delighting his fans, running in 2nd place, and Julian Altena currently in 3rd. These three racing for position, but it may not mean anything, as it is very likely that Livingston will have to pit. I do not know whether Altena will have to pit, and certainly Kelbaugh will have to pit, as his last pit stop came on lap 61. So we expect him anytime soon. We expect Howard Livingston to make a pit. Altena, if he can somehow hang on to that car and lift and coast, I mean, there's all kinds of plans for how to do this, but he is going to have to really stretch that tank. If he cannot, it will be Dominic Harte. Actually, I take it back. Harte also stopping on lap 66, so he's going to come into the pits. I think that's what he's signaling perhaps now as Rick Kelbaugh heads into the pits. This picture on Dominic Harte. No, he's going to stretch it one more lap. Dan Ensch running just behind these drivers in 5th position, and that is David Strid just behind as well. So Ensch and Strid 22 seconds back, but we know that they're going to be good to make it to the end. So they're fighting it out because they know that they are possibly in position for second and third in this race. Richard Kelbaugh has made his pit stop. We also see that Christopher Bryan is into the pits, and they are falling down through the order. So Dan Ensch, David Strid at the moment in fourth spot, waiting to see how this one is going to end up. If we end up in a bunch of caution laps, it may end up with totally different drivers who win this one. And this is what's happening. This is Howard Livingston, your leader. Julian Altena following just behind. And there in front, you can see the three drivers who are battling it out for that virtual lead of the race. So this is anyone's guess as to how this one's going to turn out here. We do know, as I mentioned, Livingston going to have to pit. That will leave Altena at least a sitting duck for Ensch and Strid. But we watch on here from Altena's point of view as he takes the low line on Howard Livingston, who looks like he's going to try to save some emergency fuel. Will Stearns now in the pit. So Altena taking over the lead. Yes, indeed. I think Livingston has tried to... He is trying to save fuel. He's doing everything he can. He's backed way out of the throttle. So Livingston in second place. He's going to take his shot at holding on to that second place and not pit. That gives Dominic Harte the chance to slide into third. And will he be able himself to save fuel and stay? He came in on the same lap that Livingston came in on. So he's going to probably have to do something similar to hang on to position. These other lap cars in front of Harte going to give him a big draft to be able to make it happen. But we watch our leader, Julian Altena, championship leader. He won last race. He's ahead of the curve for this race. Will he be able to hang on to that car and take this 8.5 second lead that he now has on Dominic Harte? Howard Livingston has... Harte has now come into the pits. Howard Livingston still in second place. He momentarily lost that position, but we watch on here as Altena continues to try to take victory. 3 laps remaining. He can see the drivers that would take victory if he lets out of the throttle. Dominic Harte has pitted, and he is going to lose that third position. Altena just needs 2 more laps around this track, and he will make it 2 in a row in the International IndyCar League, something we haven't seen for quite a while since Graham Bunyan did it last season. So here's Howard Livingston still hanging on to that second spot, still somehow getting around with the fuel that he has. David Strid, Dan Ensch race on at full speed to try to catch the leaders. It's still a 30-second gap that Altena has. He's got 2 laps remaining. Can he hang on with the fuel that he has? He's got a safe draft behind these cars in front. I mean, he could coast from here. I think he can do it. Altena just needs to make sure that he hangs on to the car, and he's got this one in the bag. He's pulled out a miracle strategy coming in on the perfect lap, saving the fuel that no one else seemed to be able to save except for Howard Livingston. It's turned into that master fuel save race, and the master is Julian Altena. He takes victory here at Auto Club Speedway for round number 2 of the International IndyCar League. Congratulations. Howard Livingston, he somehow managed to pull it together as well and keep that car on track. He coasted, and he takes second place. Third spot goes to Dan Ensch. Unbelievable stuff here as this turned into a fuel savings masterclass, and Ensch takes third. That's how long it took him to get back around and take third position. That is some incredible stuff. I think a few drivers ended up losing momentum because they ran out of fuel. Jason Lowe, he took damage there on that last lap. I don't know. Let's take a look here. I believe this happened... I think this happened after the checkered flag, though, so I'm not sure that Oh, this was a checkered flag. Oh my goodness. That is what happened. And I do not know if that truly was after the checkered flag. Let's back it up and see if we can figure out, were they racing for position? Was this the final lap? It certainly appears. They are racing at full speed. This was for position, and it does appear as though Ensch made contact with Strid and Lowe on that final. Oh my goodness me. What a final lap. We will have to ask them about that. We're going to back that up and look at that just one more time to see if we can tell exactly what took place here. There you see Strid in front, Ensch in back. There Lowe goes to the outside. Ensch just kind of goes to the outside for a second. And I do believe that there's a little bit of netcode there as Strid was caught in the middle. I think Ensch was trying to size up Strid, and Lowe was just kind of caught on the outside, perhaps got a little bit of netcode. So, MJ Mauro Ramirez is going to have his hands full with the review coming up tomorrow. But for today, it's something to savor for Julian Altena, who does donuts. We're going to head down into the International IndyCar League victory circle here and see if we can get some interviews with these drivers who are just now finishing on the podium and just spraying some champagne and wiping themselves off, maybe going to do a quick bio break before they can head into the booth. Get a chance to talk with them. Let's go ahead and take a look at the final results from today's race. You see it there on your screen. I mean, he started from the pits. This is twice now, so I'm pretty sure that means he has to do it in the future. But Julian Altena with one of perhaps the most amazing fuel save strategy wins I have seen yet in iRacing. He came from dead last. He saved the right amount of fuel. You saw it here live. And he took victory at full speed, so he did not have to lift and coast, unlike Howard Livingston, who ended up in second place. He lifted and coasted for a couple of laps, but he had such a huge gap, he was able to do it. Great awareness and wherewithal from Howard Livingston, back in the cockpit, back in competitive form, taking second position here. Dan Ensch in third place, final position on that podium. Dan, what an amazing race. And I'm sure he's going to be so excited to talk to us afterwards with getting that podium position. But we'll have to hear from Jason Lowe, David Strid, or Dan Ensch about what happened in those final laps. Now waiting to see if we can get one of those drivers to pop in with us. I'm not sure if it's very possible that Ensch and Strid, Jason Lowe, might be talking about it. So we'll see if we can get a word instead with our second place finisher, Howard Livingston. And, hey, Howard, do you got a copy, buddy?
Yeah, I've got you, man. How you doing?
I'm doing great, but I'm guessing that you're doing even better than me. Hey, Howard, it was kind of just great to see you back out there today, but you took it one step further. You made it all the way up into second position. Congratulations. Second race back, second position. It's got to feel great.
Oh, it sure does. So I'm on cloud nine right now, and again, it's I've missed racing with these great guys, and it's just it's wonderful to get on the podium. I haven't done that in a while.
And I mean, it looked like you didn't miss a beat. Wacky, crazy kind of race. I mean, talk us through it from the green flag. How did it work out for you? What were you thinking during the race as far as pit strategies, and then we get to the end of the race and it goes green, people falling by the wayside, and somehow you're on the right strategy, but you got to save a bunch of fuel. Talk us through what you went through today.
Well, I tell you, the main thing was not screwing up on my pit stops, because I was struggling with that in practice. So that was my number one thing. And then secondly, once we got out there, I realized I could keep up with the pack and save some fuel. So I started doing that, and that ultimately is what paid off.
And indeed paid off. But you did realize at some point you weren't going to make it on the amount of fuel, but you had a huge gap. you're able to take your foot off the throttle and save some fuel there at the end. Was there a point where you said, okay, I'm going to make a pit stop because I need to take this fuel, or did you just say, no, I'm going to go for it? I don't care if I run out of fuel. I want that second place.
No, I was actually, I think, if I'm honest with myself, all along I was wondering, exactly what would happen. And as I got closer and closer, it was I needed 3 gallons and 2 gallons and 1 gallon. I figured if I need 1 gallon, I can stretch that out, and that's what I tried to do.
And there you go. Just easy enough to know if you just need a gallon, you can stretch that a couple of laps here at Auto Club. Anybody that you want to thank, including obviously the Care Camps organization, who you represented so well at Indy last season, and you do each and every week, and we'll be seeing them again this season. Anybody you want to thank for your ride today? Yeah,
obviously all the kids with cancer that attend Care Camps, and my wife Cinderella, who's put up with me with a broken foot for half a year here, so she's watching the stream, and just a big thank you to all these drivers, and thanks for everybody that put so much into this week. And thank you, Trevor. Your broadcasts are just awesome and amazing.
Well, thank you, Howard. Just like yourself, we're trying to improve every week, and I appreciate the kind words. And obviously, second place here. You got a good run at the championship. We'll see how it develops this season, but good luck. You're going to be up there in the championship. You might have a shot at it.
Well, you never know, and all we can do is show up every week and try to do our best.
And that's it. He does his best each and every week. He's out here racing with a still recovering broken foot, but he takes second place. That's Howard Livingston talking to us just fresh out of the cockpit. He saved fuel like nobody's business out there. Managed to lift and coast and make it to the end. Congratulations to him on a second place. And so we get a chance now to talk to Dan Ensch, who steps in out of third spot, racing for that ALZ.org awareness, ending ALZ, and of course for Last Lap Motorsports. Hey, Dan Ensch, talk to us and tell us, how the heck did you end up in that third spot, and what was your race like today? And then what happened on that backstretch between yourself, Strid, and Lowe?
Well, basically, there was a group of us that were on a different strategy than the winners. And by the way, congratulations to Julian and Howard. They ran a perfect race fuel-wise and put themselves out of distance from everybody else. So congratulations to them for the win. But I feel kind of bad right now. David and I were running together pretty much as partners. We were swap drafting, and we were pitting together and coming back out together and running a great race together. And on that last lap, the last 2 laps, we had a gentleman's agreement. The last 2 laps we'd go racing, and we did. And Dave left me just a little bit of a gap on the low side, and I went ahead and took it. Didn't quite get my car straightened out. I don't want to say straightened out, but I got a little bit too close to the apron, so I came up just a little bit. And at the same time, he was coming down on the seam a little bit, just a hair. And from my replay, it shows, prediction code, net code, whatever you want to call it. And he got tossed into Jason, and I feel sorry for Jason too, because he was right there battling with us at the end, and it was a great 3-way battle. And I think it was just a racing netcode thing. I'm going to let Mauro make the final determination, and I'll go by whatever he says. He's taking a look at it. But I think it was netcode, and I think it was a sad ending to a really good battle out there. The good news is David and Jason didn't lose any spots because of it. We finished right there together anyway, so nobody really lost a lot of points on the altercation. I just wish it hadn't happened. But I'm happy with the podium nonetheless, and happy to get ALZ.org out there a little bit, get the name out there a little bit, and good racing by everybody out there today. That is a fun track, and pack racing and close quarters and all that stuff, and we did pretty good today as a group.
Absolutely. And you're such a veteran here of iRacing and Auto Club. You've run this track hundreds of times. So you kind of knew what this race would end up as, either a sprint to the finish on the final laps of if there was a late caution, or it would end up as a fuel save race. And you're the fuel save master, so was there a point where you looked at the Julian Altena or the Howard Livingston strat of being way up there, or was it just a product of, okay, this is the hand that I've been dealt today, I've got to kind of stay with Strid, etc.? I mean, again, you guys could have, if Altena and Livingston hadn't been able to stay up there with their fuel, which was right on the edge, you guys would have taken the win. Was there a time where you thought, I want to go be that fuel save master, I want to be a little bit off strat today?
No, not today. David built us such a great set that I could run in traffic. I could slice and dice or do whatever I wanted to do with it. And I really was in the mood to go racing today. And I just short fueled it. I kept it fast, kept it lean, had a good time today. There was no fuel saving strategy in my mind except for trying to get the short fuel right. It was about 10.5 gallons every time I stopped. And I got the short fuel right. Kept up there with what would have been the lead pack if it wasn't for Julian and Howard's great strategy. So I had a good time today.
Well, fantastic racing, and obviously with that incident that you did have, everybody, of course, knows in this league it's I mean, pretty much a de facto gentleman's league. The agreement is it's not too aggressive. Everybody tries to give each other a little bit of space. When you're racing for third place on the very last lap, though, I think everybody is fighting for position, and the best part is everybody knows that there's no ill intention. You guys have been racing together for so long, and that's really what makes this such a great league, is the camaraderie amongst those drivers. So Dan, anybody you want to give a shout out to before we move on?
Well, other than Alzheimer's.org, I want to shout out to you for all the great work you're doing for us. We sure do appreciate it. And all the guys. I mean, it's just so good to see everybody here all the time. I'm sorry Manuel couldn't make it today. I always enjoy it whenever he's in the field, and hopefully we'll see him next week. But yeah, we had a great time.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations getting that third place. It's going to improve your championship standings, and you're in a good place heading into season 16. So good luck with the rest of the season, and we'll look forward to seeing you next week.
Thanks, Trevor.
My pleasure. And so that's Dan Ensch, and of course, thanks to all these competitors for of course, thanking me for the broadcast, but also thanking the rest of the sponsors and other competitors who do come out here every week and put their all out there. And speaking of which, you know, this driver, he came in last season. I've worked with him in the past, literally doing some broadcasts. Very intelligent, very excellent communications, a pleasure to speak with, very knowledgeable, and got his hands in all kinds of fun projects. But Altena made a commitment to come in and run this season since he had the opportunity. He came in last race and he won the first race of season 16, took over the championship lead, and despite everyone's efforts, they could not keep him down. He started from the pits, and ladies and gentlemen, he took first position from dead last. Julian Altena joins us here in victory lane. And Julian, you know, today was something special. You held on to the car well. You didn't touch anybody or get into any of these silly mistakes that we've seen some other drivers get into. And somehow you managed to make that car last on fuel longer than anybody else. Talk us through the day, and congratulations on 2 in a row.
Thanks, man. Hello, good to see you again, or hear from you again, I guess I should say. But yeah, it was a really good race. Started from the back with my teammates. Unfortunately, his day didn't go as well as mine did, but I guess still a double top 10 in 2 races, so that's pretty solid still. But yeah, I was surprised as well that I was able to go as long as I could on the fuel, because I think everybody was saving fuel at some point in the race, but I don't think anybody committed as early to me as to saving all the fuel that I needed. Because basically I was saving fuel all race long, and at the cautions, when there was 1 or 2 cautions, I was pitting every time to top off on fuel to kind of go as long as possible, because I knew that if you pitted under green, you would lose near or pretty much a full lap if you pitted under green. So that's why I knew it was so important to stay out as long as possible, stay in the draft, which is what I was doing at the end as well. They're kind of making everybody burn up the fuel, which turned out beautifully, because I was on a call as well with a friend of mine, and yeah, I was telling her all the time, like, I'm surprised that these people aren't actually like falling in behind me to save fuel, because I thought everybody was really close, and because I was saving fuel all the time, I wasn't, because I had plenty of fuel to even do my my little celebrations at the end there. So yeah, it was a really good race. Really happy with the way it turned out. Of course, would have loved a little bit, for the show in terms of that. I would have loved a little closer of a final lap, but overall it was a really good race, very clean from everybody who was around me at least. So I want to thank all the people for that, and also to David Strait for working with me there for a little bit in the beginning or the middle part of the race. So I want to thank him too, and you of course as well.
Well, thank you, and you say better for TV, but let me tell you, there was so much action going on and so many people on different strategies. We had plenty to talk about up here, and there was so much side-by-side action. I think to see it actually play out as a fuel strategy race was just a shock, because again, we're so used to tracks like this where you get a caution at the very end and it just resets everything, and so everybody just gets this kind of like final sprint for the finish. But here today, because of the fact that it got to go green, as you know, because you run your own leagues, etc., it's very rare, especially like even in official iRacing, to get these races to go green for so long that you can actually enact these strategies. So I mean, just congratulations to you, because you really did stretch it. Howard had to lift and coast for like 2 laps in order to stretch it. But Jillian, how has your swing in IndyCar racing as a driver been? You're still a young man. You still got lots of time to develop that sim racing skill. But I mean, do you feel like you've won 2 in a row here? You're championship leader by a sizable margin. Do you feel like you're growing as a driver? Do you feel like you've picked some things up in the last years or something that has really helped you? What's been the key?
Well, don't be so nice to me all the time. Honestly, I don't really know. I don't feel like I've stepped up my game, really. I think it's just more, I've been doing these oval races for a long time now. Well, I'll say long. It's in April, it's 3 years going to be on iRacing. So I think it's just really experience that is really the biggest factor in this. And also just learning from other people around me, because there's someone I race against quite often, Craig Forsyth. He always says every race, and I've really taken this approach lately as well. Like every race, when it goes green, it's a fuel mileage race. And I think that showed perfectly again today. Like if you save fuel, you can actually get in a really good shot at winning the race. It's the same I did at Pocono, which I won as well. So I think it's just mostly down to experience, but also just keeping your head cool, which sometimes in the past I didn't. So like I said a few times already, experience is the biggest thing. Of course, having a few good people around you also helps, because this league overall is very good. It's got a good bunch of drivers in it, and of course my own league as well, if I can say so myself, is having a very good field this season as well. Very competitive, very talented field in the past as well, and I also raced in a few other leagues which have highly competitive drivers, so always people to learn from. Whilst I speak about my own league, VOR, Velocity Online Racing is the big logo on the side of my car. We have a race coming up in, a little less than a week, 6 days, next Saturday. We ran our first 500-kilometer race at Indianapolis, open to all. Of course, Indy-only entries as well welcome. And the race goes green at 3:15 p.m. Eastern US time. You can join the Discord. I don't know if I have permissions to do that on your chat, but if you could, I'm asking very nicely, pretty pleased to post it. We got some prizes in there as well for the race. We got $20 going to first place as well as a trophy. $15, I believe it was. Yes, it is for second place, and then $5 for the third car finishing there. So some good prizes to race for as well. It's going to be a great race, hopefully, on the new scan of Indy. And of course, if everybody wants to join it, they can. You're all welcome to do so.
Absolutely. Well, I'll see if it lets me put it. I mean, I'm the guy who runs the network, so I should. Yeah, there we go. I was able to post it. Did that work?
So
is that the right link?
Yes, it should be. If you
copy
paste the one I sent you. Yes. So thank you for doing that.
Look in the live chat if you're out there watching right now and you want to participate in Velocity Online Racing leagues. And it's a great group. You run a great league, and at the same time, you're also a great racer who's out there racing in other leagues. And we do appreciate you being here in ours as well. Let me ask you a question. Next week at Texas, any thoughts about Texas, Tunnel to Towers 180?
Well, it's the old Texas, isn't it? Like last season?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't race then. So the last time I ran at Legacy Texas for a league, I think it was actually, funnily enough, it was in VOR back in season 1. So almost 2.5 years ago. So it's going to be the first time racing there on the old Texas since then. I won that race though. So yeah, looking forward to it. It should be very interesting with the worn out surface, and also the high banking should be promoted to great racing. So yeah, looking forward to it. Not really going in there with any expectations. Just going to go in there the same way like in the last 2 weeks. Going to try to do the best I can, and hope for the best team result as well as Mauro.
Well, we'll look forward to that next week. Fantastic job here this week. Somehow getting onto a strategy that no one else could emulate. And you take victory here 2 weeks in a row. It could be Julian Altena's championship this season, but a long ways to go. Good luck, my friend. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
So that is Julian Altena stopping by and wiping off, well, it's not champagne. I think he's too young for that, so they have to give him sparkling apple juice or something like that. But Julian Altena getting the win here in his funky driver suit there with the Mr. Meeseeks helmet, just having a good time and living life. So we'll see everybody next week, and right here on the same network, VirtualRacing.Network, 10 o'clock Eastern Time. Don't miss it. You should be here every week. Put it on your calendar. You know, tell all your family, this is where I'm going to be watching this race or competing in it. For anybody who wants to be part of the International IndyCar League as a competitor, the link is down in the description. Go ahead and click down there. It'll take you right to the member page. You too can sign up and compete. And if you have any sponsorship or business inquiries you'd like to see your name here on the race or on the screen, feel free to also send us an email. That is down in the description as well. On behalf of all of the drivers, competitors, administration, and the rest of the league, I'm Trevor Greenfield, and this has been a production of VirtualRacing.Network. Until next time, have a wonderful week. Bye-bye, everybody.